Once again, session of Hoodies the podcast. Test 1, 2. This is Hoodies. Let's do it, man. Live from the skill suite. Yo, coming at you, man. Yeah. Are we back? 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 Word. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Peace and welcome back to another dope episode of Hoodies the podcast. I'm the host, the God Rashidi, coming at you live from the skill suite. Well, maybe not so live, but we coming at you. Yeah. Word. Boom. Word. Yeah, man. Good to be back. Oh, I'm back on time too. Check it out, man. I ain't gonna keep y'all too long in the intro. And damn, I'm a little tired right now, and not necessarily from working. It's actually been not such a busy week this week. It's August now, and so yeah, a lot of people just I don't know, around this time of year and around the holiday time is when August hits, people start holding off and figure, well, let's just hold off and get that haircut for when because school's getting ready to start back not too long from now, probably in a couple weeks. So some people just probably want to hold off and wait and get the back to school cuts and all of that, right? So I get it, and it don't matter, because once that back to school rush hits, we get all that money back. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna get your money one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? But no, I get it, man. And so this is that time of year. Word. So shout out to all the barbers out there. Shout out to all the stylists out there. Shout out to all the entrepreneurs out there. Everybody in the hair industry, nails, estheticians, all that good stuff. Tattoo artists. Word, man. It's part of the business. You know what I mean? You gotta love it. Or else you won't last. Because you'll come across a slow week or even a slow month. Especially when starting out. You'll get real slow. And you'll get bummed out. Dead ass. You'll get bummed out and won't even want to do it no more. So you gotta love it. You have to. You gotta love it. And if you don't, like I said, you won't last. You'll quit. You'll quit this whole situation, especially being an entrepreneur. You'll quit this whole situation and go do something else, like many have done. I've seen shop owners say, "Man, ain't no money in this shit." I don't know what they was talking about. You know what I mean? But hey, different strokes for different folks. Some people can make it pop, and some people can't. Some people can make it pop for a time. You know what I mean? As a shop owner, and then then they fall off, and then you got some people like myself who I'm still an entrepreneur, I'm still in business, but I don't have a squad no more. I don't have a squad of barbers like I once did. You know what I mean? So, and things change up a little bit when you have barbers. Even though I never depended on any barber to pay my overhead, I made enough and still make enough to take care of the overhead just off my clientele and what I got going on alone. So the booth rent that I get from the barbers was money that I'd use for other things. You know what I'm saying? So so that element of it is gone now. You know what I mean? So it is a switch up. So some people, and then some people can surpass that and keep a squad. And for the ones that leave, they got people coming in. It's just one of them things. But shout out to everybody in the industry. Shout out to all the entrepreneurs out there. You know what I mean? You got to love it, or else you won't last. And how's everybody doing? Y'all good? You know what I'm saying? What y'all got popping this weekend? Even though by the time you see this, we should be going into the weekend. Word. So if everybody's good, I'm good. I'm great, actually. Just like I said, a little tired. Other than that, man, let's go ahead and get into this thing. All right, let's do it. So let's kick a concept around. All right, let's do that. Let's kick a concept around, right? And it goes a little something like this. Check this out.
The smarter our intellectuals become, the more cowardly they become. This has something to do with this colonial education we're getting, because I know some great black minds. You know, I'm in the university system. I see these minds. I talk. People, great minds. But that paycheck is going to dictate what's going to come out mind. Or come out your mouth of that mind.
And that paycheck is based off of that other piece of paper that they got to affirm their paycheck.
I got master's degree.
So therefore I get paid more.
I get paid more.
Therefore I'm controlled by your system.
I know the truth, but let me not speak it right now.
Nah, because I can't. I got to feed my family.
Right. Now, feeding your family is way more important than speaking the truth to a people that's going to treat you like they did Dr. King. If there was a reward to speaking truth, more people would.
Indeed.
Well, there's no
That's
reward.
not where the bag is. It's like you said, the bag is in the fantasy.
See, that's what the bag is.
Ooh. Bars. The bag is in the fantasy. Okay, real quick. The first part about the more intellectual the mind, they become cowardly, right? And we get why. You tell the truth, you fuck around and end up in the river belly up. You know what I'm saying? Hands down. We got many examples of truth being spoken to power. And while, of course, I agree with everything that's being said between Brother KRS-One and Brother Nick Cannon. I agree with everything. If there was a reward for speaking truth, more people would do it, right? But they won't, because the bag is in the fantasy. And that's the part right there that I would like to add to this. The bag is in the fantasy, right? And a lot of us already know that. We already know it. For example, we find that out as kids. Now, for some kids who grew up believing in Santa Claus and Christmas and things of that nature, well, we were Muslims, so we knew right off rip wasn't no Santa Claus. And then my paternal grandparents would still get us gifts when we go over there and spend the day with them and whatever. But as Muslims, you know what I mean, there was no belief in no Santa Claus right off rip from the beginning. But for some kids, it was a thing. But what I'm trying to say is, long before it's even verbalized, kids come to realize that it ain't no fucking Santa Claus, right? But they'll play along with it because the bag, you know what I'm saying? The bag, you know, you get the bag for the fantasy. You understand what I'm saying? And so in every situation, the bag isn't necessarily money. In the scenario I just gave about Christmas, you know, Santa Claus and all that, in this case, the bag are the gifts, the toys. And in some cases, it is money, depending on how old you are. You know, now you can get them sneakers. And now you can get that new game console or that new game or the money for the new fit. You know what I mean? That's the bag. Same thing with the Tooth Fairy. Now, Tooth Fairy, I fell for that one. I think we all did, because the money is in the bag, is in the fantasy. You know, you and it's easy. A tooth gets loose, and at some point, you know, you end up pulling it out, or you know, your grandma wraps a piece of dental floss or some thread, and in this case, it was probably thread, because my maternal grandmother, was a seamstress, amongst other things, but she was also a seamstress. So it would wrap, you know, some thread around a tooth and wrap it around the door and slam the door or pull it or whatever. You put, of course, y'all know how it go. You put the tooth under the pillow, and then in the morning, boom, you got 50 cents or $1. You know what I'm saying? I remember getting as much as, about 50 cents. I remember once getting as much as $5, you know? So long before you actually verbalize, ain't no fucking Tooth Fairy. Long before you actually verbalize it, you already know it ain't. I mean, you might start off believing it, right? But at some point, you grow out of it. But you'll play along. You'll play along because for the bag. So you'll play along with the fantasy. And I remember when I figured out about the Tooth Fairy, I think my mom, my siblings, we was visiting my uncle Big Jr. In Kansas City many years ago. And I remember, damn, that was a dope summer too. I think we spent 2 weeks there. 2 weeks in Kansas City. You know, I just remember watching endless episodes of Good Times. All of us sitting on the floor. There was a floor model TV. All of us just sitting on the floor, a sauna position. Well, maybe not necessarily, but our legs crossed anyway. Watching just episode after episode of Good Times. You know, I've probably seen every last one of them. What a great summer that was. And so while we was there for them couple weeks, I lost a tooth. Can't remember which one. So boom, I know the Tooth Fairy ain't real, but I'm playing into it. So I put the tooth under my pillow, wake up in the morning, my tooth is still there. No money. I was like, damn, I must have phased out. That's what I was thinking. I must have phased out. Damn, fuck, I ain't no money. So I remember, I don't know if we was eating lunch or whatever. Maybe we was gathered around the TV again, watching another episode of Good Times. And I remember saying, you know, Dad, so I guess the Tooth Fairy must not be real. See, I was messing up for everybody, right? By coming out and just saying it, you know, because I don't know. I suppose, you know, playing along kind of and still not getting no money irritated me a little bit. So I was like, yeah, I guess the Tooth Fairy ain't real because I put my tooth under my pillow and ain't nothing happened. So then my aunt, the woman my Uncle Big Jr. was married to at the time, I'm assuming they were married. Her name was Ann. Let's call her Aunt Ann, right? And when I told her that, when I, you know, expressed that there was nothing under the pillow, just my doggone tooth that came out, she was like, well, maybe you should check under the mattress. How would she know that? Of course I know, but how would she know that? I, along with Aunt Ann, we probably just killed the whole Tooth Fairy thing in one take. But then again, everybody else is just gonna play along because there's money and there's a bag in fantasy. So sure enough, I go look under the mattress. There's $5. There's $5. Tooth Fairy, right? So imagine on a much bigger scale as we've gotten older and chose the fantasy, you know, because there was a bag in it. You know, I'm gonna try something with y'all real quick. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. I've asked quite a few people this question, a lot of whom are heavy into their religions, right? And I'm not just talking about Christians. I'm talking about some Muslims, some of which are in the Nation of Islam, dead ass. Yeah. So I found interesting that when I asked this question to the Muslims or whatever, Muslims, at least those in the Nation of Islam, okay, so the question is this: would you still be a believer in Allah, Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad, or if you're in the Nation of Islam, some of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Would you, if there was no promise of heaven, would you still believe? Would you still be a believer? Right? And this brother explained to me, right? His answer was very interesting. His answer was heaven and hell, if you will, are just states of being. You know what I'm saying? It's states of being. It's I suppose it's mental, right? Because everything is mental. Life is mental. So heaven is a state of, heaven could be in your home. Heaven could be your surroundings, knowing that you got you a good woman, knowing that your children are being cared for and taught properly, knowing that brothers and sisters are treating each other with some love and respect, being tender when need be, being hard when need be. That would, in a decent wage, a decent living. That, because, you know, I suppose everybody's idea of heaven is subjective. So it's a state of being, not necessarily a place where we go once the body perishes and withers away. The spirit, however, lives on. I think that's another conversation. But once, now what happens after death? Now, Muslims, I would assume some of that is let me stop assuming, because I've never asked any brother or sister, for that matter, in the Nation of Islam what they thought happens after we die. So let me not do that. However, there is, for all other Muslims, if I'm not mistaken, there's the promise of heaven, the land of milk and honey, or something to that nature. I think 12 virgins. Don't quote me on any of these things. Look into this yourself, because all those little details aren't necessarily important. And then I've asked Christians, right? And not surprisingly enough. I ain't gonna say I'm surprised, because I'm not. Most of them, with the exception of one, and he gave me the let me get back to you type of, so, and we still haven't had that conversation, but then he hasn't been back yet either. But most of them are not, most of them ain't with that. Most of them aren't even with the question, is what I mean. Yeah, they'll say something like, "See, I don't even want to entertain that, because they're like very avoidant and don't even want to have the conversation." I found that interesting too. Found that very, very interesting. That a person's not even. Yeah, I just find that to be interesting. I'll just say that. Like if there was no promise of heaven, would you still be a believer? The unwillingness to even ponder the thought of there being no heaven, or just questioning your belief system, period. I was going to say one would say, but no, I would say that heaven is so much of a bag, so much of a major bag, that they'd rather keep the fantasy going. Now, not call it a fantasy. I don't even want to ponder the thought of it not being real. If you came to realize if you came to realize that there was no heaven, would you still be a believer if you were clergy? If you decided to go down a rabbit hole and do some research. And I mean some extensive research. Like, take it back to Africa, back to Kemet, ancient Egypt, Kush, and all that shit. Right? And say you came to the realization and you've deduced that it is in fact just a fantasy. You're clergy now. Right? And I'm saying this because there are many accounts of pastors, ex-pastors, ex-preachers having done that before. But I'm talking about you. Right? If you clergy or thinking about becoming clergy, and you came to realize that what we've been taught, what we've read, isn't that, or isn't real, or isn't accurate. How's that? Would you tell your congregation? Would you tell them? Would you stand in front of the pulpit and tell, the flock, the congregation, would you tell them, brothers and sisters, it's not real? Would you? Probably not. Might fuck around and get hurt. Religion is a heavy piece. It's a heavy, heavy, heavy piece. It's all up in here. It's in here, but it's all up in there. Because when you start questioning people's beliefs, because people become believers all kinds of ways. Some people convert in prison. Some people were groomed by their grandmother or grandparents or their parents or peers, or some from a tragedy they became believers. Some people have had hard lives and figure, hey, let's get this religion thing a try. There's all kinds of reasons. There's many, many reasons as to why people become believers. You know what I'm saying? And then a few things happen that we can't explain. And so there's no other way to explain it. So we charge it to the religion we already subscribe to. And then here we are. Jesus is real. Muhammad is real. All these deities are real. But what if they weren't? And you were clergy. Would you tell your congregation? I should be guiding this. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. I was gonna say I was guiding this question toward pastors whose, who the tithes and offerings and such is their bread and butter. Would you tell your congregation? Right? Would you tell your congregation what you believe to be the truth? I would suppose you'd have to be a man of some serious integrity, because you'd be severing your livelihood if the church is your bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? Or would you adopt the concept that the bag is in the fantasy? That's something I think about. I was going to say it's something to think about, but nobody thinks about what I think about. I was even brave enough to even say a lot of it out loud, but hey, we here. But as KRS once said, if there was a reward for telling the truth, more people would. There's a moral reward. People will love you for it, for speaking truth to power. But unfortunately, those people ain't gonna be there when you locked up, because the powers to be want to shut you up, or when you get framed or set up or some shit like that. Those followers and people who admire you are not gonna come to your aid, unless you got it like the late elder Sister Asada Shakur, and you got folk willing to risk everything to break you out of prison and send you off to exile, you know what I'm saying, in Cuba. Unless you got that popping, speaking truth to power, that there is no reward. Because more people would do it if there was. But there is no money in that. The money is in the lie. The money is in the fantasy. Okay? Speak some truth too loud. Come up with a cure. Come up with a cure, because right now everybody is under the impression that, that there's scientists and such who are on a crusade to invent cures for cancer and such. Hey, I don't have a piece of paperwork right here where I can tell you that, you know, that's a lie, that's not happening. I'll say this: there's no money in it. There's no money in the cure. There's no money in that. You know, I'm of the belief that there is a cure for AIDS or HIV. You've seen the commercials. You can take this drug, and when you take it, if you take some sort of, I suppose, test for HIV or whatever, that your test negative. Listen, man, that's got cure written all over it. All over. That's got cure written all over that shit. But why would I cure you? Why would I do that? Because if I cure you, you'll get cured. I'll never see your ass again. Unless you're stupid enough to get it again. But if I give you just enough to live, just enough to go a time, but then I got you, you're a customer for life. Why would I give you the cure? Why would I give you the truth? Why would I tell you the truth? You know what I'm saying? Why would I do that? There's no money in that. Why would I tell you your deity never existed? Why would I say that? Then I can't use it. Because once again, the bag isn't always money. Sometimes the bag is power. You know what I'm saying? If you dirty macking, if you're a dirty macker, you know, then the bag is some pussy. Or, you know, some dick if you into that. Sometimes the bag is favor. You know? The bag period is when you stand to gain something by perpetuating a lie. Well, this ain't nothing new. There's, you know, for quite some time been this thing to where there's actually more genders, you know? And that's something that's been kind of, it's really weird, because if you are a person of a certain stature, well, not stature, but certain status, and you would even say anything what I'm saying right now, because there's only two genders, male and female. I don't know about all that other shit. It's definitely made up, you know. No, a man can't have a child. Come on, fam. Knock it off. You can change your organs and all of that. Sure. A woman can change hers. A man can change his. I have yet to hear of any situation where... Let me stop. Let's just say that... I'm just going to say there's just two genders. Everything else is just made up. But let you be of a certain status, there is, I want to say a whole world. Yeah, there's a whole world of people who will come after you. You know what I'm saying? And who will, quote unquote, cancel you. You know? There's only two genders. And speaking that truth can get you in some shit. You know, depending, you know, what type of status you got. You know what I'm saying? Personally, my views on that, hey man, if you gay, just be gay. However you want to refer to yourself, go ahead and do that. But it's when you impose it on others is where I have a problem. You know what I'm saying? I have to call you ma'am, and you're really a male. You know? I have to call you female, and you're really a male. You know, and if I refer to you as a male, even though you are a male, problem. There's a world of people where those are fighting words. You know what I mean? The truth will get you fucked up. So I guess in this case, the bag is safety. You know what I'm saying? The bag is in the fantasy. The smarter our intellectuals become, the more cowardly. Because we all got families to feed. Telling the truth can get you killed. That's why people lie. And if the truth doesn't get you killed, shoot, it'll get your name slandered so hard that you'll wish you were killed. You know, if you are a person of a particular status. You know what I'm saying? If they don't kill you outright, they'll assassinate your character. You know what I'm saying? They'll come get you. If you are of a certain status, they will come get you. And listen, I can't even say that it's just black folk. There's some white folk who've ended up belly up or dead for telling certain truths. That's dead ass the truth. There's people, period, who will come up missing if the truth is told. Hey, listen, man, I spoke about religion and all, you know, but listen, there's a whole lot of things, a whole lot of truths that a whole lot of us can't handle. There are some truths about this country. I mean, throw some stuff out there. Aliens, you name it. There's no, man, what's really over there in Area 51? Hold on a second. Area 51, right? For those of you who don't know, I just Googled it real quick just to, you know, get a clear, you know what I'm saying, understanding of what's popping off there. Area 51 is a top secret United States Air Force military installation located in the remote Nevada desert at Groom Lake, about 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas. Its actual purpose is the development and testing of experimental aircraft, radar systems, and advanced military technology. Let's see, it was established in 1955 during the Cold War as a testing site for the Lockheed U-2 spy plane used to develop and test other classified aircraft, including the A-12 Oxcart, SR-71 Blackbird, and F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Okay, so it says these things are myths. It says it's a myth. Well, it says security and myths. I'm not sure what that means. I guess one of the myths are heavily guarded with restricted airspace known as the box and strict physical security perimeter controls. High altitude test flights of secretive spy planes historically contributed to numerous civilian UFO sightings in the surrounding area. There is no public or government evidence that the base houses extraterrestrial aircraft or alien bodies. So, they say it's not real, that it's just a myth, but if those things did exist, do you honestly think that type of stuff would just be lying around for just everyday Joe Schmo consumption? Would the people of this earth even be able to, will we even be able to take that? Nah, no, there would be panic. There would be panic. a whole lot of things would come into question. There would be panic. Unrest, shit would go haywire. You know, and even if those things are false, there are secrets. You know, understand, in closing, this ain't gonna be a long one. I just wanted to kick a concept around. Understand that every book, including your Bible, because it is indeed a book, and your Quran, because it is indeed a book that someone wrote. Okay? We don't even know who wrote these books, do we? Outside of those religious texts, right? There's various books of all kinds. You got biographies, autobiographies, whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop, right? Here's another concept on top of the other concept to kick around. Before we start debating with people about some research that we've done, understand that every book that we read, and it's supposed to be about some real shit, it's supposed to be about say it's a book about the real Hebrews or the real this or the real that, you know, the original this or that when it comes to mankind. Understand, especially if it's religious, understand that every time we crack that book open, we're reading someone else's POV. And for that author to obtain that POV, sure, they may have traveled and studied under someone, you know, was a part of someone's school of thought for a number of years, and then studied under someone else for a number of years under their school of thought, and did a substantial amount of reading, traveling, going to certain places, talking with people, elders and such, right? And from those things, the teachings and the, I don't know, artifacts and whoop-de-whoop and yada yada and whatever else the resources they have at their disposal can get them to, right? If that made any sense. Right? And then when it's all said and done, they will deduce a thing or things, and then be so inspired that they may write about it. When we crack open that book, just understand we are reading because they're going to form their own opinion. They're going to form their own POV. Understand, when you crack that book open, you're reading someone else's POV. That POV could be right. It could be partially right or not right at all. So I think that's something we all should take into account. That if it's not talking about geographical locations, listen, because we weren't there, we don't know nothing. We're just reading someone else's POV, and who knows? Their POV could be a bit warped. Hey, some of these books, maybe the author didn't do a damn bit of research at all. They probably just read a bunch of books and formed an opinion. And felt so strongly about it, they wrote a book about it. And there it is. And now we read it, and now we in each other's face bickering back and forth. What, man? What you talking about? You know what the fuck you talking about? How you know they don't know what they talking about? They telling you what they read. Both parties are just spitting back and forth something somebody else wrote. And what position are any of us in to say that person is wrong? That person is inaccurate? Probably wouldn't hurt for us all to shut the fuck up and listen to one another. You know? Listen to this person's experience. You know what I'm saying? Their journey, their plight. Listen to them. You might learn something about that person. Shit, fuck the other stuff. You might learn something about them. You know? It's not necessarily the truth. You You know, listen, do you think the truth is really available to us? You know? Who knows what the truth is? We don't know nothing. We know nothing. The more little books I read here and there, we don't know nothing. We just know what we've read. And then we choose to subscribe to certain things based off what we've read. You know, maybe some of the things we've read kind of, coincide with the life we live. Maybe it resonates with us in some kind of way. If it ain't one way, it's another. That's something that we should all keep in mind. Deadass. Because there's no reward for telling the truth. None whatsoever. There's no reward in that. Because the bag's in the fantasy. That's all I gotta say about that. Made it through. I winged it all. So before I get out of here, I just want to say that I know this episode was pretty stutter-stepped. New word, stutter-stepped. But I'm sure there's somebody who watched this episode in particular, and they understood every damn thing I was saying. So I'm not even tripping. I think being open-minded is a gift. I think pondering the what ifs is wonderful. Keeps the brain sharp, I think. But anyway. Ooh, my bad. So yeah, man. Hold on. All right, I'm done here. Before I get out of here, salute to anybody who's got a born day today. I salute you. New life, more life. Live it up. I don't care if you fresh out the womb or you've been here a while. Word up. Live it up, man. You only get one life. We don't know what happens after this. We don't know if there's a heaven. We don't know nothing, man. We just hope for some stuff. And I believe that's the purpose of the fantasy, to keep us being hopeful. Keep us being hopeful. If there's something we can hold on to, maybe that makes this world so much better to live in. Maybe it keeps us nice. Some people don't care, but maybe it keeps some of us nice to one another. Because we do believe that there's a much better place than this, even though we really don't know. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to everybody who's willing to go there. I live there. Anybody who's willing to go there, just think different. But anyway, I want to thank y'all for watching. Thank you for watching the shorts. Thank you for your interaction. Thank you for the things you tell me in person, because I don't really get a whole lot in the comment section, but I'll take it any way I can get it. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for watching. Thank you for checking in. I think I'm done here. It's getting late. Let me get out of here. Hitting the gym in the morning. Y'all stay up, man. I'm the God Rashidi, and this is Hoodies, man. Peace. Hey. This is Hoodies.